Jesus Freak here. So, I mentioned yesterday I stepped out to buy a few groceries and came back and my package was here that I'd been waiting about 2 weeks for. I figure, 2 weeks about average, but probably took a little longer because Christmas and possibly Boxing Day, depending on what side of the pond it was on. Anyway, I lost part of my train of thought while I was working on that video. But I was starting to think of things that I considered, part of a definition of, what I thought should be considered, out of the question to not believe. If you're a Christian, and should be taken for granted that you believe this. Of course, this is obviously going to leave out, Catholics, Orthodox, and probably leave out a lot of Episcopalians and Methodists. And as you go down the list, it even rules out a lot of people who might be closer to what most of us believe. But, you go further down the list and things are, a bit tighter, a bit more specific, and a bit more controversial, I guess. Like, my definition of baptism would be problematic to a Lutheran, a Catholic, an Orthodox, Episcopalian, and even a lot of Presbyterians. As well, obviously, a lot of Methodists. And yet I consider it, it's a hill I'd be willing to die on to say, this, if you're not on this side, I'd start to question how Christian you really are, because it kind of falls into the definition. But I'm not going to judge someone on it. There's a lot of very honest people who don't believe the same thing I do. That's their prerogative. But would I say, if I were to say, I want to try to unite churches under one banner, I don't want to just unite them willy-nilly. That's ecumenicism. I want to unite them under, a strict definition of what's a Christian, what's the Christian church, what's the true body of believers worshiping in spirit and truth. And I'm not going to get into everything I've tried writing at this point. But about the first thing you're going to find in pretty much every declaration of faith for some non-denominational church is going to be, we believe that the Holy Bible is the final authority in all matters of faith and practice. I'm sure you've heard this a million times. So I'm going to give you, the first thing I wrote was basically my version of that sentence. And my version of that sentence is, the Holy Bible, in its 66-book form, is the written word of God, his full and complete revelation to mankind, and is to be considered the first line and final arbiter of authority in all matters of faith, doctrine, knowledge, and practice, and wholly true and without error in all matters on which it speaks. Wow, that was verbose. You see, there's a few things I had to point out. You know, you could say, oh, I believe in the Bible. What Bible? Do I believe in a 66 book Bible? Do I believe in a 74 book Bible? Do I believe in a 65 book Bible like the reorganized Mormons? Do I believe in a 39 book Bible? What's my canon? Well, my canon is 66 books. And I think that's a pretty straightforward thing to say. And I felt rather than saying just, the Bible's my final authority, I should say, well, the Bible is my first line and final arbiter of authority in all matters, is a much stronger way to say it. It's not only the end of the question, but the beginning of the question. The be all and end all. Sort of a written Alpha and Omega, as opposed to the living Alpha and Omega, who's the living Word of God, Jesus Christ. And I said the written Word of God because I wanted to differentiate between the written Word of God and the living Word of God, because you actually have bibliolaters who take this, they look at this and say, this is God. This is Jehovah. I'm like, what? Where are you coming from? But some people literally worship the Bible because they can't differentiate between the written Word of God and the living Word of God. And a lot of them are King James only. I want to say Stephen Anderson might be one of these. But I wanted to, try to put down some pointers. And I was starting to say, these are the bridges, these are the hills I'm willing to fall on. As far as, I believe that these are defining principles of Christianity. I think that apart from your, Church of Rome, your Orthodox churches, and your cults, that this statement should be something that we all can agree on. Jesus freaked out.